Hi guys, onwards and upwards, got another one. An SRU board that's been given to me by a friend to have a look at. You see I've got all the parts of it here, I'm just making sure I didn't damage anything vital. The complaint with this one is he tried it in a machine he had and it was completely dead, and it is completely dead at the minute. It was absolutely dead. When I got it there was no activity anywhere, so what I've done is I have just hooked it up to my all-purpose power supply here, and it's just feeding into the traces in the back of the board. I'm actually using the board's on 5 volts power supply here, but I can't use the 12 or the -5 because, well, obviously that power supply doesn't do it. I did try it at first with an AC power supply, but I still couldn't generate the -5. I need a 12 volt, 12 volt center tap supply. Anyways, you've seen me do this with a different board before. I've got my little 555 timer here. That's putting the sync signal into it. Oh, where's my logic probe? When I first got it, it was completely dead, but I changed out the '74 LSO4 that was in it for an SN7404, and I also fitted that capacitor there because that capacitor was missing altogether. I don't know if my friend had taken it out for proving stuff or testing stuff, but hang on, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35. Replace that 04 and we now have a clock. So, and I checked it before, and oh, I'm a bit fiddly here, hold on. Space is a premium here. Where is it? Yeah. Give me a minute. I believe we want pin 3 of the 138. And we're out of reset as well, so at least the basic core is working. But that's the least of the problems. I've got much bigger issues to contend with. This for one thing. It's an original gold pin 9980, but the problem is it's disintegrated, half its legs are gone. So I need to try and figure out how to save this. I have an idea of what I might be able to do now. Basically, what you save these things is you put them in a turn pin socket, solder them down, and then that reinforces the weak legs in the chip and replaces any missing ones, because you basically replace the legs with turn pin legs. So I don't have a turn pin socket, I've got pin strips, so I've got an idea. I've got this old dead programmer here. I believe it's an old 8051 programmer that I've had it for a long time. It doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is I've got these pin strips. I'm going to fit them over the legs of that chip there, flux the hell out of it, solder all these down, ignore the wailing in the background. I'm watching Doctor Who on my player. Where the pins are missing, I am going to put a resistor leg into the corresponding pin strip hole first, and then solder that down. Yeah, I've got a new logic probe. And I actually found my old one. It was in the box right where I left it. Don't know why I didn't see it before, but I opened up my toolbox and it was there. So I've got two. I prefer this one though. Anyways, rambling on. So, let's see if my idea works. Board also had this in it. Just sort of show this off. That's an original, and I mean an original 4042. A ceramic SRAM. 256 bit by 4. Byte by 4, sorry. Don't see many of those. In fact, this is the first time I've ever seen one. See a Mark II 111 there. The other RAM it had in it was a standard 2111. But if this works, I'm grounded by the way, you can't see it off, it's off picture, but I'm grounded so this is safe. If this works, I'll be putting this back in the board. Because it's, well, to be honest, it's a beautiful collector's item. There's the other RAM, it's just a 2111. So, but that'll be good in as well. So here's how I hope I'm going to save it. Got pin strips, all nice and straight. Installed into there. We'll solder that down. You can see where there's a leg missing, we'll put a resistor leg in there. We'll use the extreme zoom function on this phone to make sure we have no shorts, and hopefully then we can just fit a turn pin socket or pin strips into there. And this thing should be saved. There we go. That was a little bit brutal to get done, but I have it. All the pins are making contact. All the legs are reinforced. A little bit of flux to clean off. This solder isn't the best. I much prefer my 1.2mm solder. I think I'll order a real 1.2mm because this 0.7mm stuff's a bit finicky. But you can see what's involved there. You just have to get the solder to take into the pins. And my idea using the ZIF socket worked. All the pins I've took, and socket isn't really damaged. So I'll keep a hold of this dead programmer to do stuff like that. Right, next step, get a turn pin socket into here, or pin strips. Something for that to plug into. Right, skip ahead a wee bit. I've got the processor back in. Apparently that memory report is okay. So I fitted it back in. I could only do basic testing on it. It doesn't seem shorted. I got my customized ROM card that runs in 5V only. Remember, SRU is 5, 12 and minus 5. Should run in 2708s. I've got 2716s. I was getting all sorts of weirdness from it at first. I've got my... First of all, I had the pulse speed in my little 555 timing here completely wrong. It's way up at 245 Hz. So I've lowered it down to 100 Hz is what this board needs for its sync. And I'm feeding that into the two diodes at the edge of the sync circuit. So I've got reset working fine. Like I said, I was getting all sorts of craziness, but I removed the ROM card and reseated it, there is no key. There's no keyway at all on the edge connector, which can cause you some funniness. So I'm talking to the owner of the board here. You're going to have to fit a keyway, or be very, very careful how you insert that. So you might swap the 12 volt up to another line, which would be not very desirable, but right. Powering up, and we do appear to be getting some. And the data bus is behaving itself. So the process is alive. That's a real output. You know what? I think this bugger's running. I think this bugger is running. I don't expect that. But I think this board is running. So I'm going to have to go off and find the rest of the bits I need to prove that now. Excuse me. Going to have to fit a speaker to it now. On some SRU boards you have 2 speaker leads. On the earlier ones you get 2 speaker leads and you just connect the speaker module and volume control. Some have volume control, some don't, to there. On all your each-way shuffles and well, basically every more modern, if you could call them modern, SRU machine, you'll have 1 speaker lead. And what they're doing with a single speaker lead is that's just grounding the speaker. It just goes through, feeds through that transistor and out to ground. The other side of the speaker is connected to 12 volt through a capacitor. And I've verified that that second pad, the pad's still there for that second speaker lead. I've verified that a second pad there has 12 volt on it. So all I need to do to get sound on this thing is I need to find it first. I need to find my speaker module. I've got a lot of volume control stuff on it. And I'll feed 12 volt direct for the power supply into the speaker module and connect the other side just to this lead. And then we'll be able to hear the thing as well as see it on the probe. But I have checked. I've got a frequency test on my multimeter there, and I have checked. When I first switched the board on, I get 400 Hz at the speaker there, and then it drops to 0, and that's like the single tone, and then the tone cutting off. So this thing, I think, is working, but I'll have to prove it. Right, I got the speaker out. It doesn't even need a capacitor, by the way. You just feed 12 volt in, and the volume control into the speaker, and then through into that line going into the board, and that gives you sound. Excuse the noise in the background, it's early evening now. I've been doing this video whenever I get a chance. Well, let's see. Yeah, that's working. You know what I'm going to have to do now, don't you? I'm going to have to get my big start button out. Right, I got my big start button. Powered up in a minute. Basically, I've grounded a probe lead. And if I remember right, these are your switch inputs here. Got to be very careful not to bump things because there's no keyway there. And if memory serves, coins should be 16, 15, 14. And then 16, 15, 14, that should be start. Yes. Out credits, I think. 15. wee bit flaky. All these are going to have to be replaced then, but they're all rusty, but the board's essentially working. 13. See if we get the gamble again. That's nudge, I think. Yeah, that's nudge. Well, there you go. I won something. 5th, 14th. And I didn't win the gamble. So basically it's working. It's a wee bit flaky because there's no keyway there. You're absolutely going to need to have a keyway. The owner of the board sent the original ROM card, which is, I can't remember what game it is, but it looks fine, but I'm not prepared to test it without a keyway because you can very easily slide that card from one side to the other and send voltages up somewhere you shouldn't. But yeah, it's good. Now, it is all working, but I recommend you replace that and keep that as a spare. Instance automatics are still selling 980s for about £35 or something like that, last time I looked. These, all the way along, all the output and input chips are 259s and 251s. They're very rusty. They're working at the minute, but you're going to have to at the very least desolder them, clean them up, put them back, or replace them. I will try and desolder them and clean them up. Maybe re-tin the legs. Because at the minute the board's running. At the minute the board's running a treat. I mean, you just heard it play there for yourself. And that antique collectible rounder, that original 4042 is working as well. Yeah, need to replace these capacitors too. But the job is a good one. When it comes to the original ROM card as well, you should maybe look back in my other SRU video and do that mod where you take the -5 and the 12 volt away for the card and just fit 2716s. That's a lot safer to run than the old SRU ROM card where it's got the multiple voltages on it. Because like I say, if you get this offset, if your board doesn't have a keyway, and bizarrely, some of these SRU boards don't have keyways. I would fit a keyway. But hey ho. It's all alive. To the extent that I'm going to test it anyway. I mean, I do have rails and I do have a power supply that could power the rails, but that's not what I was asked to do. My job with this one was simply to get it running and prove it can run. I'd imagine there'll be 1 or 2 short out transistors over there, there usually always is. But the owner of the board can sort all that. Anyways, that's this one getting sent back. Ready to start the next phase of its journey, and I'll see you guys later.